Do you know Army?
Do you know Army?
Do you know Army?
Do you know Army?
Hey everyone, we're back. I'm Sarah.
I'm Mako.
Zoe.
And Buana.
And this is Worldwide Army TV.
Woo-hoo!
So today we got a Whopper.
So
at
not
the
from
time
Burger
of this
King.
recording,
Okay.
So,
The Proof album came out.
yes.
And then on top of that,
Well, the Proof Anthology.
anthology, yeah. And we were just coming out of the whole, quote, hiatus, not hiatus fiasco.
Yeah.
So we got a lot to
Pandemic.
talk about today.
But no, you mean this one that just happened?
Yes. So the whole hiatus, it's not a hiatus thing. Cookie gets on V Live and talks about his mattresses, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That supposedly don't exist. He's like, this is slander. But, since it's a lot, we're going to start with, the 3 new songs on Proof.
Yay! That's exciting. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest. I'm always gonna be honest on this. I don't buy these CDs. I just don't. If I'm gifted that's fine.
This one.
But but I'm always gonna stream. So those numbers is me, y'all. I am a streamer. That's me. That's my platform. That's what I do. Go Army. But I almost bought this one because I realized there were 3 different packaged versions. Because at first when I looked at it, it was like $55. I'm like, I'm not paying $55. No, push that off to the side. But then I realized like the basic one, you get all 3 CDs, and it's less expensive.
I bought the basic one, and I planned for us to share it. So that's also why I bought it.
Yeah. So yay. Well, hey to you. Right. So, but yeah, and I was going to because I wanted that third. I wanted to be able to hear on that third one the song that we've never heard before, which I think Cookie played it for us.
That was the thing for me too.
Yeah. So, and then stuff like that. I
think they also had demos of songs that.
Yeah, and stuff that's never been on, like Tony Montana with Jimin, Jimin,
Well, that third album
like
is supposed to be for Army.
Yeah. So that was the one reason that I was going to, but I'm really satisfied with what I have on Spotify or whatever streaming services, and then because I was so impressed with all 3 of the songs, I feel more fed. So I'm okay with my option of not purchasing. And that Sarah got, and maybe we should do a.
I do love that. I loved all 3 of the songs. I genuinely loved all 3 of the songs.
I mean, yeah.
And I feel like they gave us a little bit of everything we needed in those 3 songs. We still want a whole album. But I was happy with the 3 songs. And Run BTS it's like on loop for me right now.
My gosh.
Yeah.
Run BTS.
And that's going to be a good stage.
My favorite is Run. It was Run BTS first, and then it was For Youth, and I think they're running neck and neck. But I'm pleased with
For
all
the Youth
3
gets
of them.
me too emotional,
It's
I'm like
emotional.
not listening to it over and over.
I love it because it's the lyrics. The lyrics that they've written in all 3 of them are just very for Army and for our family. But For Youth, the arrangement, how it's arranged, and how their voices it seems like they're taking their artistry to a whole different level. As a group.
But these songs are classic BTS, which is why I think we love them so much, because that's really what we were craving whenever we say we want a new album. We just want some more, traditional BTS, and we'll get into a longer discussion of like their whole dinner party talk for Festa this year.
Tell me what you mean by traditional BTS.
Well, we were talking about back to their like what we recognize more as BTS's songs, and not stuff like Butter and Dynamite, stuff that was actually written by other people, like it's on the credits. These were clearly written by BTS, and that was what I was craving, at least personally. I want a song from y'all, guys.
Yeah.
Clearly, they had a strong influence in all these lyrics. I think these songs were a bit different as far as BTS themselves are concerned, because for me, I feel like they're doing different things with their voices and their talent. Like, is it For Youth or what? I can't remember which one, but Namjoon sings a really good part of it. He, before he starts rapping, he's actually doing his version of singing, and that's not classic BTS for them. And so I think they're just
they're
some
still
different
growing,
things with their,
but it's still like within their style. Like it's still unique to them.
Yeah, it is their style, but I do see the differences that they are starting to do.
Passing the baton to Mimi.
I like them. I did. I liked them.
They want to hear more because you were the one most verbal about. I don't like it. I want a new album. I don't like it.
I did want a new album, and yeah, I couldn't see myself paying $55 for 98% of the songs that I already owned. But I liked it. I do like Run. Run is my most favorite. Yeah, and I would have liked to have seen a performance of Run, but
Yeah. I mean, I know for sure that's something that they'll perform in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just, I guess if this is a segue into a larger proof conversation, since they mentioned that they're going to be taking a bit of a break as a group this year and focusing more on their solo stuff, for us, our current prediction is that probably means we're not getting a concert this year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's what me and Mimi were talking about. That was one of the hardest things for me to accept once we had after the dinner. Was that, I guess the world tour is not happening this year. And if we get something, it like you said, this is going into the actual dinner conversation, but it would be on a different level.
I mean, on the bright side, the way you can think of it too is you guys know for the Love Yourself tour, each of them, really focus on their own songs. I imagine that during the next world tour, it'll be something like that too, where we'll have, the main BTS songs, but they'll also have a lot of solo material to do in concert as well.
I mean, because they had their own tracks on Wings, their own tracks on several of their albums. And Namjoon did tell us why they didn't do Run BTS, and that when they finally give a concert again, that it will be in there. So it looks like we will be waiting a little bit for, or at least that's what the decision is right now. Who knows? The boys may decide later on that, when they perform again, just randomly, just doing like a BTS room, a short performance and a hey guys and how y'all are doing, they may do Run.
And I mean, y'all know that in today's day and age of BTS and ARMY, I could wake up tomorrow and find like 20 different new things. So I don't know what's happening tomorrow because these boys are so unpredictable at this point. But, on that point, J-Hope did announce that he's going to be performing at Lollapalooza in Chicago next month, end of July.
I'm super excited.
So, I think that also sets a precedence that we might be able to expect each of the boys to potentially do some solo stages throughout the year.
Yeah, that's what me and Mimi talked about. Before we segue into that, Zoe, what do you think about the songs? I think we're still on that.
The very, very first time I heard all of the songs, I felt like it was an answer to Born Singer and an answer to everything that ARMY's been thinking about this whole pandemic. Like, where are you guys? I mean, you're here, but where are you guys?
Yeah, like really.
So I feel like it was a response to Born Singer and a response to ARMY, all three of those songs. The very first time I heard them. And Run BTS, I feel like it's going to be kind of like my... mic drop and cipher kind of crunkness, whenever we have that in concert, we just gonna go buck wild, like it's gonna be crazy. Like that song, it really gets you going. It's so freaking
not
crazy.
Just how it's composed and how it's put together and the beat and the push behind it and the different. They put a lot in that song. They put a lot of different mixture of stuff in that song.
And there is some of you ARMY will understand what I mean by this, but there's a black undertone to I think all three songs. Like it's very not necessarily black undertone. It's a soulful undertone.
Yeah, all three songs have a bit of R&B or hip hop.
Yeah, and that really hits home. Yeah. So they gave us in a way, in my opinion, what we've been missing these past 2 years, they kind of put in here. They gave us some explanation. They gave us hope. They gave us some expectation. They gave us the soul we've been missing from some of their music. And, they put a lot into these three songs. Yeah. That was just really great. So it kind of makes me feel like they're them again. Yeah. Or becoming them again.
Well, these three songs too, like, especially after watching the dinner party, I found that these 3 songs really highlighted a few of the things that they mentioned they've been feeling and have been having to wait to tell ARMY. Like, Run BTS is a bop, but it is about, like, you know, this hardworking, grindy kind of feeling.
Yeah, the lyrics for Run BTS tell a lot.
Yes, exactly. It really does show about how they've been feeling, you know, work-wise. Yeah. And then, you know, For Youth obviously is about how they're feeling with us and ARMY and, like, their journey. And they have mentioned plenty of times over the past year about how reflective they've been and thinking about what that next step is and wanting to go back to their roots. And I think that really reflects that. And then I think Yet to Come really highlights, you know, what they're seeing for the future. Like, we're getting all 3 parts of the spectrum of what they were talking about, where instead of, like, you know, reflecting is good, but they also need to think about what their next step is, what they want to do next.
Yeah, after the dinner, then we can actually see in Yet to Come. I get what you're saying. In Yet to Come, it really highlights. Remember we were talking about the next album, and I said something about chapter, and I said, I hope it's not going to be named Chapter or something like that, or Chapter 1 or Chapter 2, going on to Chapter 2, and y'all like, what is it about? I'm like, they keep saying that we're going on to the next chapter. So basically, now we know what the next chapter is and what they were meaning by that. But really, after the dinner, reflecting on the lyrics of Yet to Come, they're telling us we've had a damn good time, but the best is yet to come. The next portion of what we're about to do, that is what they want. And that's what they're telling us in Yet to Come.
And a few armies
my best is next to come.
Exactly. Yeah. Have tied back to that whole we and me thing. That this is basically what they're talking about. The whole we, and then when it reflects, it says me. Now they're dissecting what each of them are able to offer individually. And, you know, we were all just so taken aback at first. I think there was a lot of heightened emotions. But overall, I really see where they're coming from. And we're all super excited to cheer them on. And I think that they're all going to give us love.
Right into the dinner.
Yeah,
we're just going to go right into the
I mean, the dinner was a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it was over an hour.
It was a lot.
There's a lot going on in that dinner.
Let me see how much it was. After I watched it, I called Mimi. Like I've done to you before. I was like, you gotta talk me off the cliff. I'm hurting. I can't move forward. I'm literally on the clock and I should be working and I can't.
Well, we've since clarified that, you know, the translator accidentally used the word hiatus, which is a very dangerous word. And that's not exactly what the translation was supposed to be. So,
but it made me think, what the hell was the translation supposed to be? Because literally, what did you want them to use? Break? Hiatus? What did you want them to use? It makes it seem like the after effect, and then trying to kind of clean up after the after effect was the cleanup made it seem like those are the words that shouldn't have been used. Then what words should have been used?
To be fair, I think that, you know, whatever word the boys use that might be synonymous with something like break, I think the boys use that because in their mind, from their perspective and experience, it would be a quote break for them. But, you know, as ARMY, for us, in our perspective, it'd be more like a redirect. The boys are still going to be active, but in their solo activities. Yeah. But
that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. Yeah. I said this before we started talking about the podcast, that they're not taking a break. They're taking a break, if that's the word we're going to use, and not hiatus, from being BTS and going into just, you know, finding them and so forth and so on. However, but then again, I was like, so we have to use the word break in some form. We have to use the word hiatus in some form, because being BTS, they are setting off to the side for a minute.
I like the word pause.
But honestly, it isn't a pause. And I think the reason it's not a pause is because they're keeping the runs. They're going to continuously, while they're doing this, they're going to continue doing the runs because they like doing it. They enjoy doing it. So that is to do the run. You got to come together as BTS. BTS does the runs. So I guess, it's not really a hiatus or a break as far as BTS is concerned. It's just that they're going to highlight. They're going to highlight and promote now their individual projects more than they ever have. Yes. That's what I think they were trying to say. Yeah. This is going to be new to ARMY, new to us. We want y'all to support us and go along with it.
Every single one of them will have their own album coming out.
Yes. That was surprising to learn that from the dinner. For me, that was surprising. I didn't anticipate another one this soon from Yoongi. I didn't anticipate one from Jin at all. So yeah, I mean, I think the ones ARMY mostly have been talking about is Cookie, of course. Tay and Jimin, you know, and Hobie, please give us another one. You know, I think that's the most talking point but I don't think anybody said much about Jin, but to learn now that everybody has, you know, their own project and dates that they anticipated.
We come to an understanding of what message they were trying to give us as to why they're taking this pause?
Oh yeah.
That's another level. So once I got past the shock, the initial day, say an hour after the dinner, I mean that entire day I was in shock. But even after coming to grips and analyzing everything they said at the dinner, some things still weighed heavy on me, but for a different reason. So like the fact that they came to us and it was hard for them, because I've watched the dinner 3 times now. And by the second time I was watching that, I realized, oh my God, there's a turning point in this conversation, and it's extremely hard for them. It's extremely hard for them. And one thing, I don't care what kind of army you are, you don't like seeing the boys struggle.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And this was a struggle when they began to talk about this. Mm-hmm. So that still weighed heavy on me. So, I mean, hiatus or break or whatever you want to call it aside, knowing that they were struggling to actually try and communicate correctly on what they want to do. And they were scared. They were scared to actually try and get it across to us. And so much to the point to where they got teary-eyed about it. That broke me. That did something inside of me. And on top of that, and I'm going to pause if one of y'all have something to say on that, because I was going to go into right on top of that, it also resonated sorely with me that basically what they were breaking down to us and what they were breaking down to us in Run BTS was that these have been some really good years, but these were some hard years, guys. These were hard years. We always try to show y'all the best of them and put that out, and it was a struggle doing that, but these were hard. These were hard on us. And to know that, to recap back all the 8 years that I've been with them, and they've been doing this for 10 years, and know that that resonates really deeply with me. That really hits hard. And it took me a while, only some hours, before I could even listen to Run BTS again. Mm-hmm. Because they pour all of that in there.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, us as ARMY and us as humans, especially in the past 2 years, life has been hard. We go through our ebb and flow, and we have some struggles and some pain these past few years. In life, we've had pain in life, period. And our guys, as perfectly imperfect they are, they've gone through that too. So I think it's great that they're showing, as we already knew, but they're speaking on the fact that they're human and they need to heal, they need to grow after such trying years, but
mm-hmm.
also incredible years. So it makes sense. It's like someone who's really good at their job, and never takes a vacation. They need to be forced to take a vacation. Our guys are taking a pause because they recognize themselves, okay, hold on, before anything else gets, where it doesn't need to be, we need to pause so we can evolve as BTS and be better when we come back. So let's do this pause and grow and then come back better.
So in saying that, I'm going to mention some things and y'all tell me what y'all thought was on it. So when Namjoon said, literally, and after he said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said when On happened, he felt like he had the group in the palm of his hands and he knew where they were, where they stood, what their goals were. But then Dynamite, Butter, Permission to Dance, that whole era happened. He said, and then coming out of it, I didn't recognize us anymore. I had to stop and say, BTS has changed. We've changed, but who are we? What are we? What do we do now? What are y'all thoughts on that particular statement?
I mean, I love that he pointed that out because, I mean, it
we only been talking about that.
Yeah, it confirms again that they've been on the same page with us this whole time. Like, even whilst we've been complaining about these eras, we've never doubted that the boys themselves are in the same place as ARMY, at least their hearts. Mm-hmm. But the problem is ARMY has the luxury to complain about it, but the boys don't.
Exactly.
Is they're living, and at this point they're not only responsible for themselves, but they have to constantly be thinking about that they're responsible for their company, and that is like hundreds of people, and that a little slip up will affect tons of people. So on that level, I mentioned when I first watched it that I thought it was really admirable that he had the courage to just come out and say that, and having the wisdom, especially in the entertainment industry, to be able to say, I, this very accomplished, intelligent person, I need a break too. I need to pause and reevaluate my values.
I wish they could talk to us. I really do. I wish that they could talk to us because I feel like still as close as ARMY is to BTS and as close as BTS is to ARMY, we still don't talk.
I think the issue is not actually with ARMY. I think unfortunately the issue for them is whenever they have any kind of dialogue with us, including this festa, think about the thousands of articles that come out from the media who honestly I don't think should be any part in this, but they're constantly taking every fucking thing the boys say and turning it like 1,000 different ways. And
I mean, I agree with you on that, but I also think it has a lot to do with ARMY also, because they know ARMY. They know that half of us are going to take it the correct way, the other half is going to take it in a way in which they didn't mean, and we're like I'm going to say a sister. I know most ARMYs would be like, well, ARMY is their girlfriend, or ARMY is their wife, or ARMY is their lover. But we're like we're family.
We're whatever
that they want
us
to protect. We are family they want to protect. So, and like you do with family, if you know that you have something to say, you're going to try and filter your words if you know that it's going to affect that family member, maybe in a negative way. So I think them holding back on some things has a lot to do with the agency, has a lot to do with what they can and can't contractually say, but has a lot to do with ARMY, has a lot to do with how they're fearful of how their family is going to react.
I mean, think about the way they came out with this. They literally, exactly like family, invited us to dinner, sat us down.
Like, we can have a conversation.
Started out with shenanigans.
Take a sip of wine. Get comfy.
Get your drink. And then they're like, oh, okay, well, now that we've loosened up a little, I do have some news for you.
Yeah.
Like, then you drop your chicken wing. What?
Yeah.
Wait.
But if Namjoon is listening, and we always hope that they are at some point or in some way, we never saw like the Butter Permission to Dance that as a change, but as an error. Like, it's what you needed to do at that time to get through, and there was a lot of ARMY who thoroughly enjoyed that. But I never saw that as a change. Because I know who you are, and I know your roots, and I know the level of music that you can produce as far as the intellectual side of it, the producing side of it. Like, we know you, we know what you can do, and we never once thought that this was who you were.
Yeah.
We know how the boys are with themselves.
Did it cross our minds? We are very happy that era is over, and obviously you are too.
Well, keep in
But
mind,
don't think that we thought that this was a change. We never thought that.
keep in mind that, I don't know, 5 podcasts ago, we were so freaked out. Like, why won't they tell us anything? We need to know what their mind is. Like, what's happening? Where are we going? Why are we still in this butter phase? Like, what's going on? Now we know a lot more of where they are emotionally and mentally and professionally, musically. Like, where they are as individuals, they're telling us, they're answering all those questions finally. So we're no longer so much in the dark as we were 5 podcasts ago.
Namjoon is always questioning, I feel like, things he shouldn't be questioning.
I think that it just comes with his, like, you know, he has such an intelligent nature. I think that it is just in him to be constantly questioning, because for him, that's, like, what helps him grow. So he's just going to continue questioning,
Thinking
like
deeply about it.
I think that deep questioning, like you said, he's always questioning things, started off with the fact that at a very young age, he had a huge responsibility put on him. So he was going to try to hone those skills, to watch his P's and Q's, do an internal check, because you are the leader, the example, and then disseminate his, things out to the guys. So I think that started with him at that very tender age of, having that huge responsibility. That's why he's in, I'm a check mode all the time. That's why he questions things that we're like, why are you questioning that?
And that is exactly ties back into what they talked about on part of the reason that they want to take this pause to focus on themselves. I forgot who said it, but one of the members specifically said, we had such the opportunity to grow in like so many different ways as BTS. But, and what opportunities did we have to grow as people?
So that brings me to my next statement that I'm going to make and see what y'all have feedback on it. What do y'all think? So Namjoon said, again, I'm going with Namjoon. Namjoon said the idol industry is such where you start in your 10s and 20s and you don't get that opportunity to mature internally. Where a normal, you grew, you were able to have those years of maturity. You were able to have so forth and so on. A normal Blow Joe would. Namjoon, the idol, the trainee, so forth and so on. And that industry is such that they don't give you that room to be able to be anything except for what they mold you into.
Exactly.
What do y'all think about that?
I completely agree.
Yeah, it's facts.
And it's so good that he pointed that out. Like, we've admired our boys for years for pointing all the things wrong with the industry. And I think that this is almost them walking the walk, not just talking the talk. They're saying, yeah, you guys know how I feel about how things are done in the industry. And with the influence that we have, we're going to take the first step once again in setting a precedence for some of that change. Look how successful we are. And still at this stage, we can still make the decision to say we're going to pause and focus on what we want as people.
Yeah, Yoongi kept repeating the fact that he's excited that they're finally going to be able to do what they want.
Yeah.
Whatever they want. It
made me think about idol industry. Think about when a group debuts and when the boys debuted and when any idol industry itself, the company, the agency, whoever's over you, they come up with a concept. They come up with a concept.
And they say you are
this concept. They drape on you. You are this concept. Okay, this album, 2 albums down. You're a whole nother concept. Drape that on you and be that. So you're going from concept to concept to concept. Let me take Billie Eilish. Is that her name? For example. That woman is not a concept. She is who she is, and she put herself out there, and she was able to maintain that. And if she wanted to change up, she changed up.
That's something characteristic about American music.
And that's the difference between music and the rest of the world, artists in the rest of the world who have the luxury of TikTok and YouTube to be able to promote themselves and put themselves out there and become who they want to be. And the idol industry is still the same. Back at its roots of we're going to drape a concept on you, then we're going to drape another concept on you, so you never get to show who you are.
And consider how much the boys must have felt this, especially when they were in the US for so much. Imagine if they had the chance to, behind closed doors, have conversations with other celebrities here in the US, and then find that they didn't know how to respond to some of their questions. Like, hey, you specifically, Namjoon, like, what are you into, and this and that. Like, I know you guys are part of BTS, but like, what about you? And I imagine that there probably would have been at least a few scenarios like that, where, especially because there's 7 of them, no American artist can talk to all 7 at the same time. If they're trying to have one-on-one conversations, and they're suddenly like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. And my first thought was, what is my script supposed to say as BTS?
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What can I safely say?
Yeah.
Well, I think this hiatus, this pause, this whatever was twofold. Because not only did they need to rediscover who they are, but they also said they hit a wall.
They needed to discover who they are. They didn't say they hit a wall. You've heard me say that.
No.
Today.
Yoongi.
He said we hit a wall?
He said we don't have any,
he didn't say the word.
That's what I'm saying. I keep saying, basically, they've hit a brick wall. I keep saying
No. Yoongi also said that back in the day, he had something to say, but didn't have the skill level to do it. And now he has a skill level, but nothing to say. Like he's squeezing out nothingness. Yeah. That's to me hitting a wall.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want anybody to think they use those words. We hit a wall. You heard me say that.
Obviously, we recommend you go to the source.
Definitely watch.
Definitely
watch it for yourself. But that's basically what he meant.
Although they didn't say those words exactly, he's pretty much saying
we always paraphrase.
What was interesting to me is that when he said that, when he was talking about that, he literally said back then it was squeezing out. He used these words, squeezing out lyrics.
That makes sense.
And he was squeezing out lyrics. It was so much pressure. He was squeezing out lyrics, but he had something to say. He just didn't have the tools that he needed. That was interesting to me that, yes, this is the first time they've ever told us we are literally under the gun and grinding out lyrics like we're being pushed to and forced to.
That's what Namjoon said.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. That's what Namjoon said. And Yoongi usually literally said, squeezing out lyrics that now I don't have nothing to say. It surprised me for him to say that he was squeezing out lyrics back then. It was using those, that he was doing it then and he was doing it now. But then he had something to say and now he doesn't. And that makes it harder.
To me, that's part of when I say it's twofold, to me hitting that wall, because he said he wants to be authentic. he wants to talk about his experiences. And so them having this pause and this hiatus gives them that experience. It gives them that opportunity to rediscover who they are.
Yeah, and think about this too, like,
or to discover.
over the years, we have talked about before the boys slowly showing more elements of their real, authentic, personal, personalities over the years. And I think that this is just like the peak, so to speak, of those real personalities wanting to come out. I mean, they talked about the table. We've always known how different they are, but because of BTS, like, because of what their responsibility is as BTS, no matter what those personalities are, you have to rein them into this unanimous image, so to speak, to some extent, whether it's little, whether it's a lot. And I think that what they're really craving at this point is the chance to just go out there, each of them by themselves, and feel like they're becoming stronger in their own way, so that so they can come back together and feel strong as a group. Because, I completely understand where they're coming from, because they're strong together as BTS, but they're even stronger if they can each stand on their own feet and come together as
and
BTS
break
again.
the monotony.
Yes, and break the monotony.
and break
Because when
the
you
monotony.
hit that wall, you don't know what, and I think that's what Namjoon was telling us. I had to look up and say, who are we? So, let me ask this. So, I got the feeling as they went on that, before the era, that we all know is the era, that when they had the big plans they had the big plans with the tour, and that got knocked out of the box. Namjoon was saying we were going places that we had never gone before. We were doing this massive tour, and that got knocked out of the box. As I heard each of them say, this has been a long time coming. This time that we're taking for ourselves is time that should have happened a long time ago. In a different way, two or three of them said that, including Namjoon. I honestly think, and y'all tell me what y'all got from it, I honestly think that that their plans were to do that big, huge world tour and then do this regardless. To change the flow.
Yep,
to change the flow. Not to go on a hiatus or break, but to change the flow.
Oh, yeah.
And I also think this was a kind of a compromise with whoever wanted to, at the sign of the last contract, whoever brought up whatever issues why they wanted to actually maybe not go into a next contract. Look, we respect what you were wanting. We understand what you were saying. We're kind of feeling the same way, but we have to do another contract. We really should do another contract because we haven't formulated yet how we're going to do, what you're asking. I don't know who the members were or what their reasons would have been, but listening to these guys at this dinner, more than one of them said, Cookie said, this should have been a long time. This is coming late. This is coming. And I think Hobie really opened a lot of their eyes because they kept referring back to Hobie.
They did.
That Hobie, broke it down, and Hobie was like, wait, don't put all this on me. But,
crazy enough, it would have been a perfect time during the pandemic.
Me and Zoe talked about this in the car. We were talking about how it's so annoying that, we were annoyed during the pandemic that the agency was making them do all this crazy shit, going all these commercials. They were not able to truly actually rest during the pandemic they were supposed to be.
That was a hard time. I mean, we had to stay home for the pandemic, but we were able to do, they weren't. They had to keep
That's
working.
what made me think it, because Namjoon was saying, this came up, and this came up, then this came up, and then we got for the Grammys, and then we did this, and that, not that we didn't like doing that, and we were privileged to be able to do all of that, but things kept coming up, and I kept having to push things back to the back.
And think about how much they have to stamp down their emotions. And I noticed that because Namjoon's always correcting himself whenever he even tries to share how he feels. He's always like, it's not like we didn't enjoy doing that. Like, he feels like he can't even say that he just straight up didn't like doing something because he feels like people are going to point fingers and say, oh, you guys are being ungrateful or something like that.
Because that's, Mimi has said that before, that's the culture.
That's the culture.
That's the culture that they have been conditioned in, that you are supposed to be grateful for all the success you have. Don't even breathe about being tired. He even stopped gymming and said, that we can't say that, we're tired or whatever he said.
I can't remember.
But even Arnie knows, we've known for years that they have to be exhausted.
Who came up with that bull crap?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, babies, if y'all tired, it's okay. We understand because I'm tired after a concert. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
If you tired, you tired. And I cannot imagine what their schedules are like from the time they wake up to the time they go to bed. And yes, it's a job they have to do. And yes, they enjoy it. And yes, it has brought them great riches and experiences. Yes, but you need a break.
But you know what? During the pandemic, guys, we said it over and over. Guys, y'all have the opportunity to do what you doing. What you doing?
No,
we did say that a lot.
We said that a lot.
That's another thing that I brought up with Sarah in the car. So hear me out. Let me see if I can explain this properly.
Break it down.
So, if in the beginning of the pandemic, let's talk reality first. Whenever the pandemic was going on, the boys felt the need, or the company felt the need to keep feeding Army somehow. Mend Army, help Army through this pandemic. It's a hard knock life, right?
Yeah.
So they kept putting out these simplistic-ish songs, popcorn and cotton candy kind of songs to get us through the pandemic and work and teasing us. So Army naturally is like, okay guys, come on, what's going on? What's with all these singles? No, I want an album. Can we get back to BTS? We were hungry. We were being natural armies. On the flip side, if they had done what they're about to do now, we wouldn't have been hungry. Like, okay, come on guys, we want a full album. We want to do. If they had done what they're about to do now during the pandemic, we would have been the opposite of that, and a different side of Army would have been seen. Like, okay, we understand. You know what? We all are taking a rest. You've already given us this album. We're going to ride it through, do the runs. We're going to get through this pandemic together. You guys do what you got to do to get through.
Well, let me tell you the difference in that. I don't know. I don't mean to cut you off. I want you to finish your entire thought.
Go ahead.
The difference, I thought about that too. The difference in that is, from what I understand, like Hobie said, the way BTS... At first, I thought he said the way the company, Hive or Big Hit, the way BTS is going to change the flow and how we promote ourselves, how we promote the solo, so forth and so on. It's going to be different. The difference in that is they wouldn't have been able to promote. They wouldn't have been able to go and do their stages of their own songs. They wouldn't have been able to promote it the way they can now. Now we are post-pandemic.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. If we had been told we're going to be working on our stuff, if we've been told the same thing in the middle of the pandemic, the beginning of pandemic, what have you, then what? What do you do with it? Do you just put it out and then
No, I'm just talking on the point of how you mentioned, but we were during the pandemic, even though they should. I
mentioned that because the way they described it at the dinner was that during the pandemic, they were still just as busy. Before pandemic, they were busy choreographing, doing this, doing that,
different stuff,
doing different things, concert after concert, album after album. Pandemic hit, they got mega busy doing stuff for the agency. They had to do this. They had to do that. They had to show up here. These boys went into the pandemic not feeling like they were responsible for an entire country. And they're coming out of a pandemic feeling like they're not only responsible for their country, but they're responsible for other countries as well, especially in the U.S.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just feel like my tiny point is getting overlooked. I want to make sure that you're understanding what I'm saying. I'm solely speaking on the fact that during the pandemic, Army was hungry. Mm-hmm. But if they hadn't done what they did, Army wouldn't have been.
If they hadn't done what?
If they hadn't kept putting stuff
Dynamite,
out and
all
saying,
that era.
Oh, and just did this?
I think that's what's frustrating for me, because we didn't get an album. We got an anthology with 3 new songs, and they were great. Don't misunderstand. But we were hungry. Like, we really wanted... especially having to wait after 2 years, something more.
Okay.
And had they done this?
No, let me see if I can make it clearer. Whenever you're fasting, and this isn't for every person that's fasting, but walk with me on this, run with me on this. When you're fasting, if you, for some reason, decide to take a bite of Popeye's chicken, just one bite, then you're going to be like the rest of the day, dang, kind of want some more. Okay, now I'm tweaking. I really need some
maybe
more.
I shouldn't have taken that bite.
As opposed to not having the whole day and then finally eating at the end. Mm-hmm. What they did to us was they gave us a nibble here, a nibble there, a nibble.
That's what I'm saying.
With the singles?
With everything, absolutely every single thing that they did during the pandemic. Don't narrow down onto one thing. But they gave us a nibble here, nibble there, nibble here. If they hadn't, then we wouldn't be hungry like, God dang it, I want this. No, I want that. I want this.
We actually used this analogy last time that if we felt like we were starving, instead of just kind of throwing crumbs to us of like little desserts and bits and pieces when really we just want the full meal, we would have rather have waited to just have the full meal we were wanting in the first place.
Right.
Than to compromise.
Yes.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I think that's why this is even a little bit harder for me, because not only did you give me crumbs, you gave me more crumbs. Crumbs as in these singles, like those singles that they put out. And then you put out an album that's not an album, but just 3 new songs. And then now you're taking a hiatus.
They're not taking a hiatus.
They're taking a break. They're taking a pause. They're rediscovering. I have no problem with them. I really am excited for them. I really am happy for them that they are taking this opportunity that's been presented to really get back in the groove of things, really show us their artistic side as far as the type of music that they would like to produce, and with the hopes of all coming back together to give us something phenomenal. But it's just like, I can't. It's just like,
it's because of everything that's happened so far.
Yeah.
And I think that is part of the reasons why it was so hard for them to actually have that dinner and tell us.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things played a part in it being so hard for them to tell us. But they know a lot of armies have what you just said, what you just described, and they were afraid to disappoint. I want to go do such and such. That must mean I'm selfish. I'm afraid to disappoint when I know what you really want.
Yeah, I think that they do know how you feel and how a lot of Army feel, because it's reasonable.
When we talked about during the pandemic, like you're suffocating the guys. Like when you take an artist and you suffocate them in that way, what happens to their artistry? What happens to their talent and their expressions? And
which is kind of what Yoongi was talking about.
And so I think if I'm go with my theory of this is something they were actually heading towards pre-pandemic, when they went into the pandemic and then they began to become smothered, coming out, they're even more so of, hey, we've been wanting to do this. We were smothered. We've been being smothered and suffocated. And we got to do it.
And this is why not communicating is more damaging than good.
I blame everything on the agency.
It's more damaging than good, because had we had that understanding, then this coming when it came wouldn't have been so blinding.
I don't think the agency let them say that until this point.
If we had the understanding of what they're talking about doing now.
Yes,
I think they would have talked to us a lot more. But it's just
like, just period.
But do y'all understand why they don't? Why they feel like they can't, or why they don't?
But do they understand this is why Army is having the reaction that Army is having?
Maybe they will once they take a little bit of their pause and think about it.
No, I think they do understand that, because more than once especially Jimin, they mentioned that we wish we could be.
We want to be comfortable.
We want to
That's true. He did say that.
Able to say all of this, but we can't. So I think they do understand it. The lack of communication causes more of a different reaction that they want.
Because then that communication is what aids us in understanding or being more understanding.
BTS understands, but not the agency.
Yeah, well, that's a problem.
But do we as armies, the 4 of us representing armies right now, we have varying degrees of opinions and thoughts. Do we understand why they have it so hard and feel like it's so hard to actually communicate?
I understand, and I agree with you, Mimi, and I agree with your frustration as well. But at the end of the day, we just kind of have to accept like it's kind of annoying and it's frustrating, and I agree, and that's just how it's gonna have to be right now.
Yeah, because what other choice do we have?
Exactly. Yeah,
I think even if they had free reign and the agency didn't hold them back from saying things, didn't censor them, didn't say, look, this is acceptable, this is not, so forth and so on. I think even agency beside, they themselves would still have a problem, because it's like them talking to a family.
Less like filtered, but I think they would have still talked to us more. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, the fact that as soon as we misunderstood, Jungkook felt the need to go on V Live himself and specifically clear things up right away. Mm-hmm. I think that they would have done a lot more of that during especially the pandemic if they were allowed to. Mm-hmm. But consider too, I really do believe that their company was really pushing them to do all the stuff in America, because think about how big that is for the company. Mm-hmm. They kept saying it's for the good of BTS, and that's not completely wrong, but I truly do believe that they were saying that without also mentioning that this is really important for Hive, for us, the company.
Especially after the stock.
Because no one else will push
that.
in the American front except for BTS. And once they do, and we throw BTS aside, we'll be able to say we were the company that put K-pop in the American market.
Well,
I truly
Army
believe that's
knows
part
the
of
truth
it.
about
Yes,
it.
exactly. Army knows about it.
With that same thought in mind, it's very interesting that Namjoon, when he began to talk about, I would not have been able to do this. I would not have been able to do that. I would not have been able to speak at the UN more than once. I would not have been able to meet President Biden. It is very interesting that he mentioned those two specific things, but did not mention their relationship and the fact that they rubbed elbows with President Moon and his wife.
Yeah.
That was very interesting to me, that when he began to label off the things that they're grateful for, the immense amount of pressure it must be for, they had one dinner.
Yeah.
One dinner.
Yeah.
And was candid as much as they could be and as little as they thought was acceptable. And the next morning, stocks dropped for the agency even more.
Exactly.
So the pressure of having the pressure of, you guys are the saviors. Y'all are the star of our country. Y'all are the pride of our country. In other words, y'all are the saviors of our country. We made it through the pandemic because of y'all. And then on top of that, you're the government, the presidential envoy for... So you go to another country who is asking you to come. They're asking you to come to help us because, as President Biden told them, when you talk, people listen. What BTS has to say is important. And basically, BTS was there during that month, at the end of that month, and met with him because the world listens to BTS and has eyes on BTS. That puts an immense amount of pressure on you asking me to come to your country because you know it's pressure on us that you know they listen to what we say. We have
and remember
power.
too, you know, I know the boys aren't ungrateful, but at the end of the day, I also know, because I know them, they didn't ask for any of this.
Yeah.
They didn't ask for any of this. I'm just going to put that out there.
Yeah, who knew?
Well, yeah, they kind of did, because once you go into this type of industry, or once you, that just automatically comes with a job.
Not this.
Not the
Nobody
rest
has
of it.
Nobody has done.
When
the
I
things
say
that
what
idol
I'm
group has.
specifically referring to, well, yeah, it kind of does, because the image that they put out there, like love yourself and breaking the rules that were already pre-established in a way that helps people and saves people. So they kind of put themselves in that hero stage, trying to make a difference.
But they didn't literally say, "Can I come to the White House?"
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
I know that's not what you're saying.
Okay.
I know that's not what
Yeah,
you're
because I think the reason why he said Biden is because that's a whole nother level. Like, there are people in America who get to sit with their own president, right? Tons of people who get to sit with President Biden. But how many people in America have been invited to sit with President Moon? Like, nobody. So, like, that's a whole different level of
We'll consider this too.
I wasn't surprised he mentioned Biden, because I know beyond a shadow of a doubt the rest of the world looks at the U.S. on a pedestal, that we set the bar for everything. Us in the U.S. are like, I don't know why y'all looking at us like that.
Yeah.
But
'Cause we crazy.
I understand why he mentioned those things. What I didn't get was why he didn't mention that part. The other one, President.
I thought
Moon
that's
and so forth
me
and so
explaining
on.
that. I thought cleared that up.
Huh?
Like, anybody in their own country can meet with their own president, right?
No, they can't.
It's not just anybody, but there are commoners who get to meet with the president. For example, in the United States, let's say a disaster happens in Louisiana, and the president will come and he'll hang out with the people and be like, "You don't know that? You've never seen that?"
No.
I mean,
Okay, well, that exists.
I've seen the governors
No,
do that.
no,
I've
no.
never seen the
Hey,
president.
the government.
Hey, even college students have met the president because
Yeah.
the president
It
was
doesn't
one of
We
happen.
actually
Yeah.
have tours through the president's house, and then like Obama would come out and talk to them sometimes, or even the wife
I
would
didn't know
come.
that. I
Yeah,
had no
I'm just
idea.
going to point
Oh,
out, just
yes.
because this was a recent incident and we don't have to go into it, but Biden did fly out to Uvalde himself and like talk to people there.
So,
himself.
yeah.
He met with each
So
and every
things
family.
like that.
Yeah, I
does
didn't see
happen.
that on the news.
Yeah, he
I
did.
had no idea. Maybe they don't advertise it because of
They don't really
security
advertise
reasons.
it, but
it-
yes,
it's-
exactly.
yeah.
That's
It's
exactly
a
it.
thing because this president represents its country, and so your constituents are the people.
Well, I've seen governors do that. That you see that on the news all the time. You see the local and the state.
I think we're
on
getting
state
a little
level.
off
Yeah,
topic.
we are
though.
getting off topic.
I never
Bottom
see
line
that.
is, it does happen.
Yes.
And
It
my
does.
point that I was going to make is that when I say that the boys didn't ask for this, I mean that, there's things that obviously naturally happen when you get into, like, things with the UN. I think that actually ups into stuff around the UN. I think that they did intend to do stuff like that because they've always wanted to do something greater for the world.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we have also brought up the fact that because BTS has such an influence, there are going to be other forces, other organizations that want to use that. Mm-hmm. And you know what? We don't know what happens behind closed doors. Mm-hmm. It honestly did make me feel conflicted whenever I see BTS doing certain bigger things like going to the White House, because I don't know if that is a gateway for other people to want to use them for basically whatever the hell they want,
Mm-hmm. And they always feel obligated.
Exactly, and they will always feel obligated.
That's what I mean. It's an immense pressure.
If they don't feel like going to the White House, but they get asked to come to the White House, you can't really say no. I'm just going to put that out there.
Whenever that happened, me and Mom were like, if it was...
I know they don't want to get into politics.
If it was a certain other president that was in the office and that certain other president invited them, they wouldn't necessarily say no, but they certainly wouldn't have gone in person. Maybe a Zoom. Yeah, I could Zoom you. Yeah, we could Zoom. Yeah, but actual physical handshaking, no, sir.
I think that
I feel like there are several steps that led them to that point.
Oh, I agree.
Those steps were what they created. So when you have this image of this fandom and you're all about loving yourself and spreading positivity and doing massive charity work all over the world like this, and you've spoken at the UN, mm-hmm. and it's like,
I agree with you. They at the beginnings, they're speaking at the UN, that went right along with their Love Yourself anthem and tour, and that went right along with who they are as philanthropists and who they are as what they went right along. But who did they know it was going to segue right into being the spotlight for certain countries?
I think there is a point where clearly, I feel like they felt like they were steering the wheel. Then suddenly they woke up one day and found out they weren't steering the wheel. Yeah. I think that that's kind of what happened is what I'm saying. And I think that this is also a good opportunity for them, this pause, for them to kind of step back a little bit from that huge monumental BTS image that now is BTS that goes to the White House, mm-hmm. and just be like, I just want to take some time and be me.
Before this goes much further down the road, because pre-pandemic we were discussing, I feel like they were discussing, guys, we have to break off and see who we are as artists. We have to, and how do we go about doing that? So before this gets too much further down the road and we're responsible for another country, we got to do it.
I don't think it's about being responsible for another country. They're ambassadors, and I think that's ultimately a part of their duties and responsibilities anyway.
It is.
So I don't think, them coming to the White House is some massive major thing. I think it's also just a part of their responsibilities and duties as ambassadors.
But when they were offered that ambassadorship, do you think they had the option to turn it down?
Look, I'm agreeing with what you're saying, and the way that I'm saying it is that they're aware of that, but once they have those responsibilities, exactly like you said, they can't stop it. It's like once this train takes off,
like Namjoon said at the dinner, then it's the next thing. Then we're invited to this. Then we're invited to that.
With Namjoon as their leader, I just don't believe they do things blindly. So when they were offered this ambassadorship, I think that they understood because you can't be offered something and not be explained what they're offering.
Yeah, but do you think they had the option to say no? That this is too much for us to take on right now. That's not a part of our agenda. It's not going to go along with where we are.
It's absolutely a part of their agenda. I'm completely opposite view of both of y'all. I think going to the White House and speaking about what they spoke on about Asian hate, and that's definitely a part of their agenda, because that's not loving yourself. That's not spreading positive vibes. That's not what they represent. And so they want to spread what they represent. Yes, they're the perfect candidates to come to the White House to talk about this particular issue, not only because they're Asian, but because of the message that they attach to who they are as artists. And so the dots to me obviously connect. So
it does. But at the start of it, I don't think they felt like they had the option to say, no to like being the presidential envoy. But by that time, they had already been the representative at the UN for that particular campaign.
Which at the UN there are several presidents there. So it's like it's not
You're exactly right about that. But that's what I mean. Is that I don't think that they didn't want to go. I'm just saying that even if they had not wanted to go, they would not have an option. And I think that once that starts, it's not going to stop.
Again,
it's a train.
I don't see it as that, because I never am, and only they know whether they wanted to or not. But I think once they were offered the opportunity, I think they were honored by the opportunity, and I think they definitely wanted to come. I just,
yeah, I mean, and he basically
agree.
said that
Yeah.
at the dinner. You know,
I
we
agree with that.
got offered this, and then we had this come up, and we got asked to do this.
I think it
we
was
got
awesome
offered
for
to
them.
do that.
I am happy for them.
And so,
happened.
being who they are, it's not in them. Not only contractually, probably they didn't have the option to say no, but it's not in them. It's not embedded in them to say, thanks, I'm honored, but no thanks. It's not a part of their
I'm saying
DNA.
also that at this
so then why are we
trajectory,
having this conversation?
at this trajectory, like this is still a good point where we are happy that they went to the White House and talked about this stuff. I'm happy about this. At that trajectory, if it keeps going though, it might hit a point where it got bigger than they wanted it
Exactly.
to be.
And I think with this, they're like at the point
They still have a
we
point
have
where
to
they
rein
can
something
pause,
in.
yes.
We have to. We've been talking about doing, because they all kept saying, this has been a lot, this is late. This has been
They
this
didn't
should
have
happened.
full control over their activities the entire pandemic. And I think that this is also them making a stand and saying we want control over our activities again.
Yeah.
Is
That's
what I'm
perfect. That is perfectly put. We want control over our activities again because we had some plans, y'all.
Yeah.
We had some plans. We had some plans. And now we're brave enough to tell Army what our plans are and them. So
And I wasn't even trying to use that example like specifically. I was using it because it was the most recent big thing. But I'm saying as a whole, they've had no control over almost anything that they did during the pandemic and afterwards, including that.
Yeah.
And I think that this is them taking a stand and being like, okay, well, we used to have control, and I think I want control again because I didn't like not having control and having to do whatever, Hive told me to do the next day.
What I meant by they had no idea it would lead to this is I firmly believe when Namjoon came up with the Love Yourself campaign, when he came up with this idea to even push something like this, I firmly believe he wanted it to touch all armies. He did it for armies. He wanted it to motivate.
It was
and
just
touch
about the message.
Armies and people in general, about the message to motivate people to do such and such. I think I guarantee you they had no idea that it would lead to that, and then it would lead to that, and that would lead to that, and so forth and so on.
Obviously, yeah.
What do y'all think about the fact that they were actually seeming like they were asking our permission? Like, please support us. Please tell us that this is okay.
Because they know how we feel.
Yeah.
They know how we feel. Exactly what Mimi was saying earlier. That's why I was saying I think they know that, and so they're saying I acknowledge how you feel, and I want you to know I am sorry about it, and I'm asking you to still support me.
Yeah, that's the
anyway.
only thing that saved me in this entire situation.
Yeah.
Because I'm so connected to them emotionally, and the fact that they took responsibility for what happened and then was like, I'm sorry. And in the same breath, I got to roll. But to me, taking...
That's like if we robbed the bank and we came out and Sarah's in the car driving by, I'm sorry. I gotta go. I'll be back.
I fully know what I am doing,
the
and I am sorry for that.
But I gotta go.
Yeah, I'm gonna
and
go
I will
now.
be back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Please support me and understand. I'm leaving you right there.
It's just...
But that also
this is
sets them
such
apart.
This is such a...
It does. That all of this is
That is
unprecedented.
so different. That they did that. They still did they took responsibility.
They took responsibility.
Yeah, and that's a
And
big
we
thing.
Because
talk a
they
lot.
know the expectation, because why wouldn't we have it? This is what you've been doing for the last 9 years.
Yeah, exactly.
So they knew what the expectation was for them, and they knew they couldn't fulfill it.
Yeah.
And so, sorry,
Yeah.
and
our
please
bad. Support me.
We feel bad.
Them, really, like, please give
It's
us,
like I literally
He
want to
even said, "Give
snatch
us your
them by
blessing."
the shirt,
Yeah.
and like I literally want to snatch them up and then like hug and kiss them at the same time.
Yeah.
Like that's how.
I mean, that just illustrates again, like Army's unique relationship with BTS.
Yeah, and
It's
it
like-
is unique, and I love how Namjoon he's speaking that more and more
Yes.
about how unique this bond is, and
Yes.
that it is like no other. The levels that they reach, we think we get no communication. I think about
Yeah,
other
that's
fandoms
true.
that they get no.
They get little radio
So they
silence,
get
yeah.
vlogs, they get V lives, they get so forth and so on. Not that I don't know if the top echelon do. I don't know if Blinkies do, Pinks or whatever they.
They fell
Black
off the
Pinks.
planet, haven't
I
they?
don't know.
Kinda,
But they don't. Okay, I'm going to take Big Bang for an example. So what the path that Big Bang was ever going to go on, their fandom was never privy to that. The fandom was never privy to that. What they're doing right now, the fandom don't even know. Their company don't even know. The investors of their company doesn't even know and are demanding answers. Our guys are really more transparent in communication
We
to
might
us
get
than
very
any fandom
occasional
ever.
letters, okay, from our boys while they're in the war, okay? But other fandoms really do just get like pigeons every now and then.
And that's not even just K-pop artists. That's artists in general.
Yeah.
I was listening to
No. Other fandoms will see them on TV. Oh, that's them. There they are. But I'll actually pause and say, hey, we're here.
I was listening to a professor that is a professor here in the States. She's Korean, but she's a professor here in the States talking about a professor of hip-hop culture, K-pop culture, music culture in general, so forth and so on. I can't give you all of her credentials because I don't quite remember, but she knew what she was talking about.
Yeah.
And she was giving the history of that, and they were, in the talk that she was giving, talking back and forth with this person, they, of course, had to talk about ARMY, because if you're talking about K-pop, you're talking about BTS, you're talking about anything having to do with the industry right now, you're going to mention ARMY. And she brought up a very good point. They were trying to brainstorm about what other fandom can you see gets this emotional about. And she was like, I can tell you right now, the Beehive gets very emotional behind Beyonce.
They
very
do.
emotional.
They do.
She said the only thing I can compare ARMY to, if on any scale, is the Beehive. She said the one huge difference is Beyonce does not communicate.
That's true.
She does have a Twitter that is managed. She does have a platform that is managed, but the difference is
Beyonce.
They are one because they communicate back
But
and forth.
Beyonce also sits on her throne, and she is Beyonce.
Like,
She is the queen beast.
And she has the sun.
Now she is humble. She's a very humble individual.
So
She is very philanthropist. She's very talented. She's very. But that one element. This woman was making that point. That one element. The Beehive is cutthroat when it comes to her. But that one element that sets us apart and them is the fact that she doesn't communicate. Not nearly. She does sometimes, but not nearly on the level of what we get.
Yeah.
And that was the only, throughout the entire world, that was the only example they could come up with.
Yeah. I completely agree with that.
Yeah. I was going to say something, but I'm like, because like it's the culture of America that's what they do to maintain
Boundaries.
boundaries and to maintain the image. Like, I was in the entertainment industry for a very short time, people. I used to rap back in the day. And I had some skills. Anyway. So one of the things my manager told me was, like, as soon as you finish performing, we leave. And I'm like, but dang, I want to stay around. No, because you have to maintain the magic. You have to maintain.
You can't be a person. You are an image.
Yeah, you cannot be real.
Yeah, a person.
And so
That's awful.
Yeah.
But it's
true.
I mean, look what happened to Britney, Zoe.
It's true.
Okay, they ate her up and spit her out.
Yeah, when you cross that line,
what they
it's
did
the
to
line
Britney.
into Never Never Land.
I think BTS and ARMY are a perfect example of how to do it right.
How to do it right.
But
still, even on that example, even in that level, we had a dinner like we had the other day. Well, it was extremely hard for them to just say, please give us your blessing to go and do what we really
I think it's hard for us.
We're always going to give you our blessing, even though it hurts us or pains us. I mean, we know how painful it was for you, but it's definitely painful for us. And of course, we're going to give you our blessing because we're not generic.
But think about this.
We actually have a relationship.
This is exactly the thing that we find so endearing about them, though. The fact that they are so humble that even at this stage, they wouldn't assume still that we would just support them.
A lot of artists out there would just do it without saying anything.
That's what I was saying. That's my point. I don't know any other fandom that has it like we have it, as far as we have so much communication. Even though we starve for more communication, we have communication that seems cookie cutter. Somebody said one other time in one of our podcasts that seems very cookie cutter, but we have communication that know what our guys in the direction they're going to be going in. Up until the pandemic hit, we didn't know what the hell was going on, but then again, I guess they didn't either. But more than any other.
They sat down at a dinner with us for over an hour to just talk.
And not only did they do that this year, they do it every year.
Yes.
And on top of that, they're doing In the Soup. And on top of that, they're doing BTS Run. And on top of that...
And Cookie showed up on V Live, and he's like, the amount of mattresses I have in my apartment are of the normal amount.
I don't think that was Jen's point. Jen's point is where they were located.
Yeah.
Where they were
I was
located.
pointing out in the car to Zoe talking about that. That the fact that he was defensive shows very much that there's some weird stuff.
You can see during the dinner when they got with
Well, you
he
can
was
even
like,
see on his
"Let
V
me talk to
Live
the
when
boss
somebody
man."
said, I bet you don't even know how to wash dishes. And he was like, what? He was like, it just so happens I have 2 bowls that aren't clean. Let me clean them right now. He made sure the camera, you see me washing these dishes? They
And let me move
sparkling.
this frame away from the floor where there's 3 mattresses up here.
Yeah.
So somebody must not have been watching Cookie for too long, because Cookie is very, I mean, he's not the neatest,
is.
but he is one that will, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it wholeheartedly. If I'm going to clean my kitchen, I'm going to be
It
there
might
for some
take me
hours.
a while, but I'm going to do it.
I'm going to do it. First of all, laundry, I was not surprised by that comment, because laundry has been important to that boy since day one.
Mm-hmm.
He been doing everybody's laundry. He been doing his laundry. His laundry is important
And I
to
mean, that's
him.
the thing that a lot of people forget too. Why wouldn't they know these living skills? Because y'all remember that they lived in a dorm together for years
Well-
before they were famous, right?
Well, laundry is to some people, and I'm one of them, it's kind of therapeutic.
Mm-hmm.
I thoroughly enjoy
So this
folding
is a woman
clothes.
that's talking who is
and putting them
vacuuming
away.
is therapeutic for her.
That vacuuming is. It's
I wouldn't call it therapeutic.
No, it's therapeutic for her, because tell them what,
because you got to have the lines just
like
right.
mowing the yard. You gotta
Yeah,
have
like the lines look good. Like you can
My
look at that
lines be
carpet
zig and
and
zagging.
tell that sucker has been vacuumed, and then somebody
Okay.
want to walk across.
Yeah,
it.
I don't have that much vacuuming focus.
Anyways, it's not about me. This is about Cookie.
I will also say that I love that they each spoke a little bit about how different each of them live. Now that they've like separated households, like their experience seeing each other's like places. Now that they each have a choice to make each place their own, I think that that's so funny that they mentioned like Namjoon's place is literally a museum.
I know, and while
I
they're
can
describing
completely see
things,
that.
what was hilarious, Jimin literally puts his hand on his face like, how much? I don't know how much of this we can air.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
not
we're just
only
being
that,
so-
but the genuine surprise on Jen's face when he was like, "You clean?" He was like, "Nah, like we ain't gonna say it, but you know you be having the maid up in there. Stop playing. We not gonna say it, but we know you got the
I
maid.
love
up in
their
there."
little reactions, yes. Even more so because they lived together for so long. I mean, to be fair, people do act a little differently whether they're with
True.
other people or alone.
True.
So I get it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, with 7 people as well, it's not like y'all can clean at literally the same time in exactly the same way you would if you had free reign.
And not only that, each member seems like each member has their own like strength.
Yeah.
So like if this person is the cleaner, then that's just what the responsibility
Yeah.
they took on. Like Cookie took on washing and whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm still stuck on his mattresses.
I love. We can't overlook the fact that they shared their last moments in that place with us.
Yes.
That's
so
true.
to
That's
find
very
out
true.
also, it was very eye opening to me to find out that they were going back and forth to their respective homes and to living together. They were going back and
That
forth.
is way too much.
But what they
for
shared
anyone.
with us is that the lease is over and we're not going to renew, and we are finally going to say goodbye to this. Any part of this kind of living arrangement. We literally have stuff in our bedrooms we have to go gather and collect, and it's going to be our last time here. They shared that with us.
Yes, I
They
find it very
shared that with
special.
us.
Now,
You know?
who can move in? Can they do that like an Airbnb? Like, can
Ooh,
we just...
they make so much money.
This-
Speaking of that, so talking about their original places and how they started, what Jen called it a mosquito camp. You talking about the mosquito farm? The other places they lived at before they got to that actual building, you know, the first building that we know of. They put that in the song. They put that in the song.
They did.
They put it in the song not once but twice.
Yeah, they did.
That was beautiful. I
Yeah.
mean, because one of my favorite songs by them is "Move On." That just grips my soul because they're literally talking about having a hard time moving away from a place that they lived at together as one and having to move out and move on. We just got to move on.
I wonder where they moved to, because it is super surprising that they didn't choose a building. Like, I'm on floor 1, you 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, you know
They're
what?
not moving to any. You mean after the lease was over? They're not. They're saying goodbye to that.
No,
whole
she's
living
saying
together
that
concept.
in their individual
Apartments,
living
but in
situation.
the same building.
Yeah, she's
like,
surprised
I'm
they didn't
wondering
stay in
like
the
how
same
far
building
apart they
together.
Well, no, they've
are.
already had their own place. They already have their own place.
They had their own
Every-
respective
This is me
places.
wondering.
Oh, but
I know they have their own places. I'm wondering how far apart
how
from
far
each
apart
other they are. Like if some of them are possibly in the same building, or if some of them possibly in different buildings, or they're a block apart from each other.
Evidently, somebody just put something on YouTube that highlights this is the building Jen lives in. This is the building Hobie lives in. This is the building
I think they're probably pretty close together because all the rich people have the same
That's
districts.
true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I feel like they should have their own house. Not a
No,
building.
that's not how
Houses
Korea
are not
is
as
set up.
easy.
Really?
So
There's
there's
no space.
No.
There's no space to build houses.
So one very famous, we just talk about it, everything. GD just bought an apartment, or bought a home that was for an unprecedented amount of millions, just like 40 million or something like that. And when you look at it, they show an entire building, but his mansion, because it would be a mansion, $40 million is a mansion in America, is in one spot of that. There's 7 different units in that place, in that building.
Me.
And,
I guess because I'm from Texas mainly, because I'm not.
Well, because we're from the U.S., because things are not set up.
Even in New York and L.A., things are built on top of each other. Like restaurants are on top. Like for a Texas mindset, everything is spread out. You've got your own space, like literally.
Yeah, they buy
different.
apartments, not homes.
That's what's interesting.
And we buy homes, not apartments.
But on a serious note, like for real, with every fiber of my being, can they just put that up as an Airbnb? Like we could literally fit there for our Korean
So
trip.
they said it was a lease, and I don't think that they own the building.
I'm just saying that would make a lot of money.
I think the leaser would be very smart to do that.
They're very smart, but I'm sure there are laws.
Or a
You
museum.
can't.
I don't think they can, because that particular building houses several celebrities.
Yeah, that's true.
Dang.
So like
that's
No, but if you can afford, because where GD bought, it's 7 units, but only him and one other person occupies, and that other person is not an idol or a celebrity. He's a businessman. He's a financial person from America. So I mean, if you got the money,
you can buy property over there.
Evidently.
I mean, he probably has to do like some weird complex way.
Yeah,
but
because they're a stickler about that. But yeah, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Well, you probably need connections, but
But
yeah.
40 mil?
He bought a $1 million area, so I guarantee you he has connections.
Back to the boys, who I'm here for. Okay.
Thank you.
Rain is in.
The boys. I was actually really surprised to hear how often they would have. They were kind of implying they had to go back to the dorms. Because I've been thinking for a long time now, like from the first time that they were getting their own places, I was thinking, well, good for them, because like they have had to live together, and 7 is not a small number of people. Mm-hmm. Okay, they've had to.
At that.
Yes, it's 7 full ass, tall ass grown men together for several years. Mm-hmm. Like, I can already think about the toll they had to do for that. And so when they got their own places, I almost thought like, oh, good for them. Like, I'm so glad they can finally have their own space. Mm-hmm. But I didn't even think about the fact that whenever they were working, which is all the freaking time, they would have had to just go back to the dorms anyway.
Easy. That's hard.
Yeah, and even then, like, say if you were working until like 3 a.m, especially as a celebrity, it's not even as safe for you to find way to go back home. So then you would just sleep there. Mm-hmm. But like, how often would that have happened where they basically be living in the dorms anyway and barely going home?
Yeah. Let me ask this.
And I bet it's coming from a combined household to separating. The difference also too is for them just being one person in the home, it gets a little lonely. Mm-hmm. Like it's you feel that euphoria of having your own space, but then when you're used to voices around and human bodies around and people to talk to and walking in the room and Hobie will be sitting there looking luscious and fine.
Okay.
All right.
His glory.
You get that.
Okay, I did. And to walk in the room and there's nobody. Like, they're very interconnected. So I
think Yoongi wouldn't have minded that at all.
Maybe.
Yeah, he wouldn't have minded at all.
You'd be walking into his apartment with the code, and you'd be like, Yoongi, and you turn on the light, and be like, why are you laying in the dark, man? And you'd be like, what?
Nobody knew you were in here. Like, really? So I think I wanted to ask you guys who, because we know they're all coming out with something. They're all coming out with a project. Who y'all were most excited to get? Did y'all have one or two
I'm not
that y'all were
most excited about something, but pretty soon after that, I showed you guys just a few days ago that they've already announced the next In the Soup thing with V and a bunch of other celebrities.
Oh, yeah.
I am so curious about that because V acts relatively shy and weird around our boys. But he's not like that with other people.
Woo group. I
want to see it with his homies.
They bring it out of him.
They bring it out of him.
I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know. Y'all tell me how it was.
So here's the thing. He's had his little group of friends. They've been a group for quite some time. They've been a group since he was in the film.
Yeah.
In the drama. They've been a group for quite some time. And not only do we feel a certain way, or some artists may feel a certain way about it. I remember a conversation between him and Jimin where he was like, you tell them you love them all the time. We don't even say, he was like, because my brothers, y'all know I love y'all. We don't say we love each other all the time, but we know how we feel about each other because we grew up together.
And think about this too.
Him and his little woo group or whoever, they say I love you all the time to one another. And Jimmy was like, man,
BTS is family. They are family with each other. My family is my ride or die.
Exactly
I still want to hang out with my friends too. Okay, they probably weren't able to do that.
I don't know, but
I'm excited for that.
I don't know, but bringing it back in, the other part that made me okay with the hiatus is the fact that not only will we be fed, we're gonna be stuffed to the crust about the bus.
Because
of seven
albums. Like
that's
serious.
I see a lot of reviews and podcasts in our future.
Oh my goodness, and J-Hope is first.
Yes, I think J-Hope is probably the most prepared to be first. I think.
He said he's been working on his comeback, like his stuff
his thing for a while. For quite some time.
J-Hope most naturally, just like naturally has it in him to do like his solo activities, including the solo performances, just right off the bat. Because I just think that's in what J-Hope's personality.
Yeah, I learned. We learned a long time ago that entertainer part of him. Yeah, it's just in him. It's just in him, and it's gonna. So that I think he's. I think
even without the break, he was probably gonna plan to do solo stages.
Yeah, and just. I really am super excited about this Lollapalooza thing because I really want him to. I know I'm saying that wrong. Is it Lollapalooza?
Mm-hmm. Lollapalooza.
It is Lollapalooza. Mm-hmm. Pilates.
No, you said it correctly.
But I'm super excited about him doing that because I really want to see chicken noodle soup.
Yes.
I'm curious as to about what he's going to perform because I honestly don't think he's going to perform his older stuff because I think he wants to start moving away from it. If he's the first one,
think he's going to perform something new?
I think if he's the first one, like they kept saying, J-Hope would be the first one to, I think if this is going to be...
I don't think he's going to release it before the end of the month.
Who's to say that his album won't be at the beginning of the month? But I don't see. I think he may. I think he may throw a chicken noodle soup in there or something. But I think he's going to show. This is his start of showing us something.
To do at least one.
I don't know. I know he's definitely going to perform some old stuff because it's an hour perperforance. It's an hour long. Yeah.
They don't only perform 2 songs. They're on stage for a while.
I can honestly say I asked y'all if anybody y'all were. I can honestly say I'm excited about his album the most. I have because I've been waiting on it for so long and wanting it for so long.
It's R.M. for me actually.
Taeyong for me.
Actually, right behind Hobie is Cookie. I was not excited about his album to begin with. I was excited, but not as excited as I am now. What changed me is his vocals in these last 2 songs. In the songs that they just debuted.
I'm not excited for Cookie's album. I'm terrified.
I think the reason why
in his
I'm more. It's not that I'm not excited about all of their and but I think I know Cookie well enough in his musical taste to know what to expect from him. I have no freaking idea what to expect from Tay, and I'm super excited to see what he brings to the table. Jimin,
I'm actually really curious to see what Jimin's going to do.
I'm curious to see what he's
I can't guess what Jimin's.
I can't either.
I thought I knew what Cookie would bring to the table, but now I'm all over the board with it. I don't know. I think he's going to have a little bit of everything, and I'm opposite of you. I feel like I know what V is going to bring to the table because we very much know what he's been into for the past year or so, which is like, big band, jazzy kind of.
I think Jin's album is going to sound like a drama OST.
You absolutely
the whole
about
thing.
that. Yeah. Joy, do you have one that you're most excited about?
Shockingly, I'm most excited about V's.
Oh,
shockingly.
That's not shocking.
No,
Shockingly.
seriously. V's my absolute 100% top dog baby. He's my boo. But I'm not. He's not my favorite singer. Like he's never been at the top in that way. He's my favorite. He's my bias and my boy because of who he is, right? So it surprises me that I'm actually interested in. Also because I have to be in a mood to listen to his songs.
Yeah,
You know,
me also.
Yeah.
Me also, as
So,
far as V songs.
It just shocks me that I'm most excited to hear his music.
Yeah.
I'm honestly just excited to hear all of it. Honestly,
I think
I think that J-Hope is gonna start strong. He's gonna blow us away with everything that he has, and I think they're just gonna continue to blow us away each album.
I hope so.
Touching on J-Hope and what we've talked about in the past about his role as like the mother and like the emotional support in the group, I think that this is also just another extension of that he is just so confident in himself that I think that he's taking the first step also in a way that makes the other members feel like you guys can do this
more
too.
Encouraged.
Yeah, you guys.
They said that at the dinner the other day about I'm really inspired by J-Hope. They said that
he's just sitting there all drunk. He's like, what?
Yeah, I think it's hard for me
to
almost get past the dinner because to my soul, the thing that shocked me the most is because I'm to my core OT7. I'm to my core OT7, and what you're telling me is my OT7 is going to bust up for a minute, go in different directions, and do different things. When I'm used to being consuming y'all and absorbing y'all as OT7, and now you're telling me that I'm going to have to take time and I'm going to have to consume you and be all into that. And then I'm going to have to consume you, so forth and so on.
I think that's exactly what they're trying to tell you, and I think part of that
will buy each and every one of these albums.
I'm going to
buy each and every one of these albums.
I think also it probably stems from something I didn't like about when they were in America, and that's partially because America's in their racist roots, is that a lot of people were only seeing them as a group, and like literally would make jokes at, they would think that it's not a big deal to make a joke, but a lot of people would make jokes about things like, you can't tell them apart, they all look the same, ha ha ha, that kind of thing. I don't think that this is the response to that or anything like that. I think this has been a long time coming, like you mentioned, but I think that this will also help them be like, oh, well, you guys were talking shit about how, we're just a group. Well, I'm going to show you that we all each are talented in our own right as well.
Individually. Here's me. Here I am.
Yeah.
Well, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I'm 100% here for it.
And I want more than anything for them to, I hate that Namjoon woke up the next morning feeling some kind of way about the dinner. I hate it because, first of all, he was bombarded, like he said, with all of these messages about the highlights and talking points of what these 7 Korean boys from your boy band said. I hate that he was bombarded with that, and that brought about more guilt for him. That brought about him. He always second guesses himself.
Yeah.
So he second guessed
vulnerable.
himself on every point after that. Maybe I shouldn't have been so open. Maybe I shouldn't have done this. Maybe I did, And
Namjoon, I would like to personally volunteer to live in your house and be your voice of reason, completely platonic.
I 100%.
As long as you let me kind of sneak looks at your biceps and chest every now and then, I will take that as payment.
When he broke down toward the end of the dinner, I don't care what anybody say, our boys were sincere and authentic to the core.
Yeah.
And when he was saying it, he was just like, come on, like just that weighed on me. That weighed on me. And then I have to remind myself that Army is not just me. And so it's millions and millions of us. And I just really, really, especially with Namjoon, I felt like at first it was Hobie, and I feel like Hobie has grown and become more secure in his place in Army. And now I feel like we gotta love and hug on Namjoon. I feel like
to see that major vulnerability
and
that we have. We've seen him cry on stage, and we cry with him. But this was a whole different level.
It really
the
was.
words that keep resonating in my thoughts is, and come back and not have to worry about what the world thinks. That just, I see his face, I hear his voice, and those words keep going over in my head and my soul.
I think that's definitely a personal struggle that Namjoon himself is going through right now, and I think that's something that he definitely is going to need to explore during this time.
I just wish I could have 5 minutes with him.
I think as a group, they're finally at that point. We got to learn to stop thinking what the world thinks.
Well, think about them individually.
They weren't really caring about what the world thinks, because I think Jimin summed it up when he brought up Army. And I think it's really what Army thinks. And they just don't want us to misunderstand.
Namjoon can't wrap his head around that, I don't think, because he literally said, and not have to worry about what the world
I think that was him also speaking for him personally. Because I mean, we've seen since, the last few times that he's spoken publicly that Namjoon himself, personally, that's something he's struggling with right now. And then consider for the McNay line, especially for Cookie, I don't think he has necessarily as strong of an opinion on that, but he also looks to his older brothers for literally everything. So for him, if Namjoon is feeling this way, if the rest of the group is feeling this way, I just want to do what's best for them. J-Hope's probably more secure in it, but he wants to do what's best. I think each of them have their own way of looking at it.
Like Mimi said earlier, he questions himself a lot.
Yes.
So him wanting to actually learn how to not care what the world says is going to be a growth for him. It's something he's going to, like he said, he wants to come back.
I don't think Yoongi has a problem with that at all, for example.
Hell no.
But Yoongi himself, for his reason, was I want to creatively go explore things to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. When we're younger, we are ready. We are here for it, ready for it.
And just to throw Namjoon's words back at him, if watching Army or looking back on your videos and you see Army, just if you take some solace in that, then we have done our jobs. So, just
Namjoon, just because of the time we spent together, if you developed some kind of disorder one day where you went senile and you didn't recognize me and you tried to kick me out of your life every single second, you best believe I would still sit outside of your house and leave you food for the rest of eternity.
I think he knows the majority of oh my God. And when V said he stopped Namjoon, because Namjoon kept going and going and going. He was the first one to stop Namjoon and interject with his smooth, sultry voice and say, I think our fans will most of our fans, and then he said 90%. That what glared for me was that they know 10% does differ. And they don't there is a huge percentage, honestly, of armies who have that different opinion, who would be like, you owe me this. I want this from you. They know. They're realistic about the fact that there are armies that are that way. And that may weigh on them, holding back on some things that they say, because they know that there are some armies that are that way. And people are people.
But, at the end of the day, we feel how we feel about it. But, at the end of the day, we're going to be here to support them.
Absolutely.
We're looking forward to what's coming out.
Absolutely.
And we love BTS, and we always will.
Yes.
So, you hear that, Namjoon?
We love you,
call and tell you every morning.
Y'all said give us your blessing, give us your support.
You got it.
You got our blessing, you got our support. I hope they know that.
If you guys even started with that, you wouldn't have even had to say what it was. If they just started out and said, I need your plan. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sure. For what?
Sure. What do you want to do?
You got it. But
where's the paper? I'll sign off on it. But what are you doing?
Now, what am I signing about?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to end on a big note, because I know there was a lot of feelings about what they said, because it's different. We are going into different territory, and BTS and ARMY together, we are always kind of the trailblazers for setting a different trend in the industry. And with that, it's going to come us processing, how we feel about different and new things. That's all this was. I just don't want everyone to think that we're sitting here trying to complain.
No, hell no.
I think that it's healthy to have these conversations, because we're processing all those emotions.
And beyond our emotions, can we pat ourselves on the back about the fact that, and maybe it's bad for me to actually be so happy, kind of, that this actually has come to fruition.
I'm happy for them.
No, I'm talking about the fact that the morning after, Bloomberg is reporting about how the stock has fallen just from them having a dinner and saying that what they said. We said it, that y'all better learn how to cater and take care of ARMY, because y'all ain't gonna make it with
Are y'all still delusional, thinking that we don't
make
make 99% of your profit?
You will not make. No, they know it, and they readily said it and put it out there.
Well, you better nurture us.
But
they don't know how to nurture. They don't know how to nurture ARMY. I looked at I'm gonna just put out to get there. I looked at a picture frame the other day on Weverse. It was a picture of them. A picture. For $40. Now you add in the tax and the shipping and handling, you're paying over $50-something for a picture. A picture frame is a picture of them. It's a small frame, and the little frame is 2 little slits on the side that the picture sits in. Somebody stop me.
I can't. The truth is the truth.
Because you're weird. It's like they're trying to grow the tomato plant, and they don't give it anything but mulch.
Yeah.
And they're like, where are my tomatoes, damn it?
giving us
Bro,
much.
I just need some water.
Like,
Okay.
you guys are not going to survive. And your investors know that, look, if BTS is outie, they take an army with them. And the morning after, everybody thought BTS was outie. They take an army with them.
No,
I'm
did
snatching my
everybody-
stock out of there.
I had people calling me, telling me, I heard your group BTS is struggling right now. And I was like,
Now, on that note,
what?
we are available as a growth team
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
for hire for
Yeah,
BTS.
absolutely.
Okay,
Mhm.
we got
Yes,
some
ma'am.
ideas,
We'll
and
lay it out
I can
for you.
guarantee results. In fact, that I'm willing to take percentage of profits instead of a salary.
Actually, we could be a growth team for Hive because obviously y'all continuously miss the mark, and we need to. I mean, y'all need us to help
I'm
you
just putting
hit
that
it.
out there, but
Ooh. And this goes back. I love the fact that Jimin said when somebody asked him, where do you work on your music? And he said sometimes at the studio, but sometimes at PD Neem's. Because I had been feeling a certain way, like, my God, where's PD Neem? Where's their relationship with him and him? What's going on? You know, because I even mentioned the fact that Jin forgot the man's birthday. Army was reminding him, and he called him at the end of his birthday. I love the fact that at least Jim and I know, and most likely all of the guys, that they affirmed for us that they still have that relationship. He works at.
I do kind of wonder when PD Neen took his time off first, he was just like, you know, I did it and I'm still living. So if you guys felt like taking a break, it's doable.
They follow Papa. They follow Papa from the beginning. They gonna follow Papa again.
All right. Well, with that,
Now you know,
Army.
Woohoo!
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Thanks for listening.
Very good.